Commander Victor Rashidov rammed the white-hot iron into Lieutenant Jake Morrison's face and held it there while he counted to 5 in Russian. Jake's skin hissed. His scream tore out of him like something being ripped from a body. Victor pressed harder. Louder, American. Louder so your brothers can hear what a hero sounds like when he cooks. Smoke curled between them. Jake's boots kicked uselessly against the chains. And when Victor finally pulled the iron back, a ragged brand steaming on Jake's cheek, he turned to the 4 other SEALs shackled to the wall and smiled. Don't worry, gentlemen. I have a fresh iron for each of you. If this story grips your heart the way it grips mine, please take a second right now to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss what comes next. And before we go any further, drop a comment below telling me the city you're watching from tonight. I read every single one and I love knowing how far these stories travel. Now stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to hear will change everything you think you know about courage, betrayal, and the quiet power of a woman the world forgot. Jake Morrison had been a SEAL for 11 years. He had survived 3 tours in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. He had been shot twice, stabbed once, and pulled from a collapsed building with a piece of rebar in his thigh. But nothing in his entire career had prepared him for the sound of his own skin sizzling against a piece of hot metal held by a man who was smiling. He slumped forward in his chains, and the only thing keeping him upright was the steel cuff biting into his wrists. His breath came in ragged pieces. Beside him, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb was cursing under his breath, a constant low stream of profanity that was somehow the most comforting sound Jake had ever heard, because it meant Marcus was still alive, still angry, still Marcus. Jake, Marcus whispered. Jake, stay with me, brother. Don't you check out on me. I'm here, Jake rasped. His own voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. I'm here, Chief. To Jake's left, the youngest member of their team, Petty Officer Second Class Danny Ruiz, was trying very hard not to cry. Danny was 24 years old. This was his first capture. He had been married 6 months. His wife's name was Elena, and she was pregnant with a boy they were going to name after Danny's father. Danny had told Jake all of this on the flight in the way young men tell older men things when they are nervous and don't know what else to say. Now Danny was staring at the iron in Victor's hand, and his lips were moving in what Jake recognized as the Lord's Prayer. Hey, kid, Jake said, forcing each word out. Hey, look at me. Danny turned his head slowly. You are not going to break, Jake told him. You hear me? You are a United States Navy SEAL. You are not going to break in front of this piece of garbage. Victor, who had been watching this exchange with the patience of a man who had all the time in the world, laughed softly. Oh, Lieutenant, you are so inspiring. Truly, I think I will have this moment made into a poster. He stepped closer to Danny, and the heat coming off the iron made Danny flinch before Victor had even touched him. So, Daniel, that is your name? Yes, Daniel Ruiz. Wife named Elena. Baby on the way. We have been reading your letters. Danny's eyes went wide. Don't listen to him, Marcus growled. He's bluffing. He doesn't know anything. He is going to be a boy, yes, Victor continued, ignoring Marcus entirely. You have not told her this, but you have picked a name. Antonio, after your father who died when you were 9. Stroke, in the kitchen of your grandmother's house in San Antonio. Danny made a small sound. Don't you touch him, Jake said. His voice was low and dangerous, the way it got right before something very bad happened to somebody. But he was chained to a wall, and he couldn't do anything, and they all knew it. Don't you put that thing on his face. Victor turned back to Jake with a look of genuine delight, the way a man looks at a puppy that has just done a trick. You want me to do you again instead, is that the offer? Because that can be arranged, Lieutenant. I am a very flexible man. Do it, Jake said. Do me. Leave the kid alone. Jake, no, Marcus hissed. Shut up, Chief. I'm not letting you. I said shut up. Victor clapped his hands together slowly 3 times. Oh, this is beautiful. This is what they write books about. Yes, the noble officer sacrificing himself for his men. I love it. I truly love it. He walked over to the brazier where the iron had been heating, and he set it down, and he picked up a different one, and Jake's stomach dropped because this one was longer, thinner, the kind of iron you use to write something. But I am not going to take your offer, Lieutenant, because I have a better idea. He walked back to Danny, and Danny started to shake. I am going to mark your young friend, Victor said, And you are going to watch. And every time you close your eyes, I am going to start again on someone else. You understand me? You keep your eyes open, Lieutenant Morrison. You watch what your leadership costs. Don't, Jake whispered. Please. It was the first time in 11 years Jake Morrison had said the word please to another man. Victor heard it and he smiled, and then he pressed the iron against Danny's forehead. Danny screamed, not the way a man screams, the way a child screams. And the sound of it went into Jake's chest and broke something there that Jake wasn't sure would ever be fixed. When it was over, when Victor stepped back and Danny was sobbing with his chin against his chest, the smell of burned skin and hair hanging in the air like a curse, Victor turned to his men and said something in Russian. The men laughed. One of them, a heavy bald man with a scar through his eyebrow, came forward and unchained Danny's wrists. Danny collapsed. They dragged him across the floor by his ankles like a sack of grain, and they threw him into a smaller cell at the back of the room. The door slammed shut behind him. One down, Victor said pleasantly. 4 to go. Who wants to be next? Nobody answered. Victor walked slowly down the line. He stopped in front of Petty Officer Ethan Clark, who was the team's communications specialist, 28 years old, from a little town in Kentucky where his parents still ran a diner. Ethan had been quiet through all of this. Too quiet. Jake had been watching him out of the corner of his eye and was worried that Ethan had already gone somewhere inside his own head that he wasn't coming back from. You, Victor said to Ethan, what is your name? Ethan didn't answer. Victor tilted his head. I asked you a question. Still nothing. Victor raised the iron. Last chance. His name is Clark, Marcus snapped. Ethan Clark, you already know that. You already know all of our names. Quit the theater. Victor turned his head slowly toward Marcus. You know Chief Webb. I am trying to decide if I like you or if I really, really do not like you. I think it is going to be the second one. Cry me a river, comrade. Victor laughed. It was a real laugh, not the cruel performance from before. Comrade, how old-fashioned. I like this. Okay, Chief Webb. You want the attention? You can have the attention. He started toward Marcus, and that was the exact moment the door at the far end of the chamber opened. A woman walked in. She was not tall. She was not short. She was wearing the gray uniform of Victor's militia with the rank of a senior officer, and her hair was pulled back in a tight braid streaked with silver. She had the kind of face that didn't give anything away, a face that had seen too much to be surprised by very much. And when she walked into the room, the entire atmosphere shifted the way a room shifts when the boss shows up unexpectedly. Victor froze, just for half a second. But Jake saw it. Major, Victor said, turning. I did not expect you. Clearly, the woman replied. Her Russian was flawless. So was the small, sharp smile she gave him, the one that wasn't actually a smile at all. Command said you were conducting interrogations. I came to observe. We are almost finished here. You need not, I will stay. It wasn't a request. Victor's jaw tightened. He nodded once stiffly and stepped back. The woman walked slowly down the line of chained seals. She looked at each one. She did not flinch at Danny's burned forehead, or at the new brand on Jake's cheek, or at the blood crusted on Marcus's split lip. Her eyes moved from man to man with a clinical coldness that if Jake had been in any shape to think straight, would have chilled him more than anything Victor had done. She stopped in front of Jake. She looked at him for a long moment. And then very briefly, so fast that Jake almost thought he had imagined it, her left eye twitched. Not a blink, a signal. 2 quick movements down and to the side, the kind of movement you'd only notice if you were trained to notice it. Jake stopped breathing. Because that signal, that exact signal, was one he hadn't seen in 7 years. It was a ready code, a SEAL ready code. Specifically, it was the ready code taught by a woman named Commander Sarah Mitchell, who had been his mentor at Bud/S, who had been the first woman to break the glass ceiling in their unit, who had vanished on an off-the-books mission in Chechnya in the winter of 2019, and who had been officially declared killed in action in the spring of 2020. Jake's mouth opened. The woman's eyes flickered a clear warning. Don't. Not a word. He closed his mouth. This one is strong, the woman said in Russian, turning away from Jake and addressing Victor. I can see it in his eyes. You will get nothing from him with heat. With respect, Major. With respect, Commander Rashidov, I have been breaking American soldiers since before you were old enough to hold a rifle. Heat is for cowards. What you need with this one is patience. Victor's face colored. The colonel has given me until tomorrow morning. Then the colonel will have his answers by tomorrow morning. But not through this. She waved a hand dismissively at the iron. Put it down. Major, put it down. Victor put it down. Marcus, who was watching all of this with the expression of a man trying to work out a puzzle in the dark, leaned slightly toward Jake. Who the hell is she? He whispered. I don't know, Jake whispered back. But that was a lie. That was the biggest lie Jake Morrison had ever told. The woman was now speaking quietly to Victor in a corner. Jake couldn't hear the words, but he could read the body language. And the body language said that Victor was being told something he did not want to hear, and that he was not in a position to argue about it. After about a minute, Victor nodded short and sharp and left the chamber with his men trailing behind him. The heavy bald one with the scar gave Jake a long look on the way out, a promise of things to come. Jake held his eyes until he was gone. The woman stayed, the door closed, the bolt slid, and for the first time since their helicopter had gone down 3 days earlier, Jake Morrison was alone with his team and one other person in a room without a single Russian guard. She walked over to him. She stopped close enough for him to smell the faint trace of gun oil on her jacket. Lieutenant Morrison, she said quietly, in English, in a voice he had heard in his dreams for the last 7 years. It has been a long time. Commander, Jake whispered. Commander Mitchell, you're not dead, Sarah Mitchell said. Yes, I had noticed. Marcus made a strangled sound. Wait. Commander Sarah Mitchell, the Sarah Mitchell from the Mitchell Protocol. You're telling me the Mitchell Protocol is in this room right now? Keep your voice down, Chief Webb, Sarah said without looking at him. The walls here have ears, sometimes literal ones. Yes, ma'am. Sarah turned her head and looked at Ethan, who still hadn't moved. Petty Officer Clark, are you with us? Ethan's head came up slowly. Ma'am, I need you present. I need all of you present. We do not have much time. How long? Jake asked. 6 hours, maybe 7. After that, a convoy from the Eastern Command is arriving to take custody of you. Once that happens, I cannot help you. You will disappear into a hole that even I cannot reach. Then how are we getting out? Marcus asked. Sarah gave him a look that Jake remembered from BUD/S. The look she used to give young operators who asked questions before they'd listened all the way to the answers. We are not discussing that yet, Chief. First, I need you to listen. Yes, ma'am. She stepped back. She kept her voice low. Everything I am about to tell you, you will carry to your grave or mine, whichever comes first. Do I have your word? 4 voices answered at once. Yes, ma'am. Good. I was not killed in Chechnya. The mission I was on was compromised by someone inside our own chain of command. I do not yet know who. What I know is that I was set up to die and I did not die, and when I realized that going home meant dying for real, I made a different choice. I went deeper. I let them think I had turned. And for the last 6.5 years, I have been working from the inside of an organization that has killed more Americans than this country knows. And I have been sending information back through one single contact in Langley, who I trust with my life. Jake's throat was tight. Commander, my family was told what they needed to be told. One day I will go home to them or I will not. It does not matter. What matters is the mission. And the mission, Marcus said slowly, right now is what? The mission right now is that 4 days ago, my contact sent me a flash. He told me a SEAL team was going to be inserted into this region to hit a target that I knew was bait. I tried to call it off. I could not get a message out in time. And then a Black Hawk went down 40 kilometers north of here, and the pilot and co-pilot were killed, and 5 operators were captured, and I realized I was looking at the names of men I knew. She looked at Jake. Men I trained. Jake could not speak. So, Sarah continued, I pulled every card I have. I called in every favor. I put my entire cover at risk to get myself assigned to the oversight of your interrogation, because I was not going to let Viktor Rashidov take your faces off while I sat 3 buildings away drinking tea. Commander, Jake said. Ma'am, I don't know how to. Don't thank me yet. We are not out. We are not even close to out. What we have is a very small window and a very large number of men with the rifles between us and it. Now listen. She crouched down in front of Jake. She pulled a small key from her sleeve. She unlocked his cuffs one wrist at a time, and Jake let his hands fall forward and felt the blood come back into them like fire. Do not move from that position, Sarah said. If anyone comes through that door, you put your wrist back in those cuffs and you let them hang. You hear me? Yes, ma'am. She moved to Marcus, then Ethan. The fourth SEAL, a big quiet man named Tommy Delgado, who had been silent through the entire ordeal because Victor had broken 3 of his ribs on day 1. And breathing deep enough to speak hurt too much, looked at her with wet eyes as she unlocked him. Commander, Tommy rasped. I thought you were dead. Everyone did, Delgado. That was the point. Why didn't you tell us? Sarah stopped. For just a moment, something cracked in her face. Just for a heartbeat. And Jake saw underneath the hardness and the Russian uniform and the 6.5 years of being someone else, the woman he had known. The woman who had once made him do push-ups in the mud until his arms gave out and then sat down next to him in the mud and told him he was going to be a great officer one day. Because I couldn't, Tommy, she said. Because every single person I love had to believe I was gone or none of this would have worked. Do you know how many times I wanted to pick up a phone? Do you know how many birthdays I missed? My nephew is 9 years old. He thinks I died before he was born. Nobody said anything. Sarah stood up. The hardness came back over her face like a shutter closing. There is a cell at the back of this room, she said. Ruiz is in it. He is hurt badly, but he is alive. The lock on that cell is a cheap one. I am going to open it next. When I do, Ruiz is going to need to stand up and walk and follow orders, and we do not have time to baby him. Morrison, you are going to have to get him back into the fight in the next 15 minutes. Can you do it? Jake's cheek was on fire. His legs were barely holding him. Everything in him wanted to lie down on the floor and not get up again. Yes, ma'am, he said. I can do it. Good. Because here is what you do not yet know, gentlemen. She looked from face to face and her voice dropped even lower, and Jake realized he was holding his breath. Viktor Rashidov is not the person who sold you out. He is a brute and an animal, and he is going to die tonight, but he is a symptom, not the disease. The man who gave him your flight plan and your insertion point, in the name of every man on your team, is sitting in an office in Virginia right now. He has a wife and 2 daughters. He plays golf on Saturdays. And when we get out of this room, the 5 of you and I are going to go home and we are going to find him and we are going to end him. Do you understand what I am telling you? For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then Marcus said very quietly, Ma'am, do you have a name? Sarah looked at him. I have a name, she said, and when I tell it to you, it is going to break your heart. She turned toward the back of the room where Danny Ruiz was whimpering in the dark. She took a step and then another, and the key was in her hand, and behind her 4 Navy SEALs sat with their unlocked cuffs still resting on their wrists, trying to understand what they had just been told. Trying to understand that the woman they had mourned for 7 years was standing in front of them. Trying to understand that somewhere in Virginia, a man was playing golf with the blood of their brothers on his hands. Jake looked at Marcus. Marcus looked back. And without a single word passing between them, both men understood that whatever happened in the next 6 hours, whatever they had to do, whoever they had to become, they were going to walk out of this place. All of them. And they were going home. Not the same men they had been, but alive. And carrying a name. Sarah crossed the floor in 4 quick strides and slid the key into the cell lock. The bolt turned, the door swung open with a low groan, and inside, curled against the stone like a child hiding from a storm, was Danny Ruiz. Petty officer, Sarah said quietly, I need you to sit up. Danny didn't move. Danny, her voice was firmer now. Sit up, son, we are leaving. A small sound came out of him. Not a word, just a broken breath. Jake pushed himself up from the wall. His legs nearly buckled and Marcus caught his elbow. Easy, brother. I've got him, Jake said. Let me. He knows my voice. Jake limped to the cell. He lowered himself to his knees beside Danny, and the pain in his cheek flared so hard he almost blacked out, but he swallowed it down and he put his hand very gently on the kid's shoulder. Danny, it's Jake. Look at me. Nothing. Danny Ruiz, United States Navy. Look at me right now. Slowly, Danny's eyes came up. They were glassy, far away. There was a bubble of spit at the corner of his mouth, and the burn across his forehead was already starting to blister, and Jake felt something rise up in his chest that he didn't have words for. Hey, Jake whispered. Hey, you with me? Jake, I'm here, kid. Is it over? No, not yet. But we're getting out. You hear me? We are getting out of here tonight, you and me and the chief and Clark and Delgado. All of us? We're going home. Danny's face crumpled. Elena, Elena is waiting for you and your boy. Antonio, right little Antonio. He needs his daddy to come home, and we are going to make sure that happens, but I need you to stand up for me right now. Can you do that? Danny nodded. He tried. His legs wouldn't hold him. Chief, Jake called over his shoulder. Help me. Marcus was there in an instant. The two of them got Danny up between them, one arm over each of their shoulders, and they walked him out of the cell like they were carrying a wounded brother off a battlefield, because that was exactly what they were doing. Sarah was at the chamber door listening. How long? Jake asked. 3 minutes, maybe 4. Victor's gone to see the colonel to complain about me. The colonel is going to tell him to do whatever I say. Victor is going to come back here in a very bad mood, and when he does, we need to already be gone. Gone where? Marcus said. Sarah turned and looked at all 5 of them, at Jake's cheek, at Danny's forehead, at Tommy, who was breathing in shallow, careful sips because of his ribs, at Ethan, who still hadn't said a full sentence since the iron had come out. There is a supply corridor behind that wall, she said, pointing. It runs to the motor pool. In the motor pool, there is a truck. The keys are in the visor. In the bed of the truck, under a tarp, there are 5 rifles, 3 handguns, a medical kit, and enough water to get you to the border. The border is 83 kilometers northwest. I have written the route on a piece of paper that is in the glove box. You have this all set up already, Marcus said slowly. I have had this set up for 4 days, Chief, since the moment I knew your names. Jake swallowed. Commander, what about you? I am not coming with you. What? You heard me? No. Marcus stepped forward and his arm tightened around Danny. No, ma'am, with all due respect, you are not staying here. Chief Webb, we are not leaving you in this place. Chief Webb? Sarah's voice was a whip. I did not spend 6.5 years burying myself inside this organization to walk away from it now. Because of 5 men I happen to love, I am not finished. There are operations I know about that are going to kill hundreds of Americans in the next 6 months if I am not here to stop them. I stay. That is the mission. Commander, Jake began, that is the mission, Lieutenant. The silence that followed lasted 3 seconds, and in those 3 seconds, Jake understood something that went deeper than any training he had ever done. He understood that the woman standing in front of him had already made peace with dying in this country, that she had made that peace a long time ago, and that nothing he said was going to change it. Okay, he whispered. Marcus's jaw worked. Jake. She's right, Chief. We follow the mission. Good man, Sarah said softly. Then her eyes flicked past him and her whole body went still. Somebody's coming. Back in the cuffs. Now. They moved faster than men. That broken had any business moving. Jake and Marcus half threw Danny back into his cell, pushed the door so it looked closed, and both slid back down against the wall. Jake's wrists went back into the open cuffs. He let his hands hang. He let his head drop. Beside him, he heard Marcus doing the same, heard Ethan's chains clink as he pretended to be unconscious, heard Tommy's sharp exhale of pain. The door opened. A single guard walked in, not Victor, a thick-necked kid with a patchy beard holding a tin cup of water. He saw Sarah. He stopped. Major, he said in Russian. The commander said to bring water. Leave it by the door. The commander said to leave it by the door, private, and get out. The kid put the cup down. He looked at the prisoners. His eyes lingered on Jake for half a second too long. Jake, head down, did not move, did not breathe. Then the kid turned and walked out. The door closed. Sarah let out a breath. That was close. Too close, Marcus said. His wrists were back out of the cuffs. Ma'am, we have to move. Agreed. She crossed to the wall, ran her fingers along a seam in the stone and pressed. A section of the wall clicked inward. Jake stared. He had been sitting 6 feet from a hidden door for 3 days, and he had never once seen it. Commander, he said, how? I had this place built, Lieutenant, 18 months ago. They think they captured this compound from a rebel faction. They did not. We gave it to them. Every passageway, every camera, every radio tower. I have been listening to their conversations for a year. You gave them the building. I gave them the building, and now I am taking it back. Jake laughed. It came out cracked and broken and a little bit unhinged, but it was a laugh. Commander, you are something else. I am tired, Lieutenant. That is what I am. She pushed the door fully open. A narrow corridor yawned behind it. Morrison, you take point. Chief, you take 6. Delgado in the middle with Ruiz. Clark, you are on Ruiz's other side. You keep him upright. You keep him moving. You keep him quiet. If he makes a sound, you put your hand over his mouth. Understood. Yes, ma'am, Ethan said. It was the first real sentence he had spoken in hours. Good. The corridor runs 60 meters. It bends right, then left. At the end is a door. That door opens into the motor pool. There will be 2 guards there. I have already poisoned their coffee. They will be unconscious, but they will not be dead, and I want them not dead because I want this to look like an escape, not an inside job. Ma'am, Marcus said, you are not making this easy to leave you behind. Good, Sarah said. Now move. They moved. The corridor was pitch dark, but Sarah handed Jake a small flashlight, and he led them into it with the point discipline of a man who had done this 100 times, even with a branded face, even with his hands shaking, even with his heart trying to come out of his chest. Behind him came Marcus's steady footfalls. Ethan was murmuring to Danny, keep walking, brother, that's it. 1 foot, another one. Attaboy. Danny was crying silently. Tommy's breath was a whistle in the dark. They reached the first bend. Jake held up a fist. The team stopped. Voices coming from a room behind the wall. Russian. 2 men. Laughing. Jake's hand found the knife Sarah had pressed into it at the last second. He waited. He counted. The voices moved away. A door closed somewhere distant. He exhaled. Clear. They turned the corner. Halfway down the next stretch, Danny stumbled. His knees buckled. Ethan and Tommy tried to catch him, but Tommy's ribs gave out, and Tommy made a sound like a dog hit by a car, and Danny went down hard, and the clatter of a body hitting stone echoed in the corridor like a gunshot. Everyone froze. For 10 seconds, nobody breathed. No response. Up, Marcus hissed. Up, up, up! They got Danny up. They kept moving. At the end of the corridor, Jake pressed his ear to the door. He heard nothing. He looked back at Sarah, who had slipped up next to him in the dark. I'll go first, she whispered. If anything is wrong, I can talk my way through it. You cannot. Jake nodded. She opened the door. The motor pool was silent. 2 guards were slumped over a folding table, coffee mugs by their hands, one of them snoring softly. At the far end of the pool, under a single yellow bulb, sat a dusty civilian truck, an old Russian-made 4-wheel drive with mud caked up to its wheel wells. There, Sarah said. Obeyed. They moved. Jake boosted Danny into the back seat. Ethan climbed in after him. Tommy and Marcus took the other side. Jake circled to the driver's door. Sarah was already at the front passenger window. Lieutenant? Yes, ma'am. Listen to me very carefully. When you get to the border, there is a checkpoint run by a man named Yusuf. He expects you. He knows your faces. He will wave you through. Do not stop for anyone before that checkpoint. Do not speak to anyone. If a vehicle pulls up behind you, you drive faster. If a vehicle pulls in front of you, you ram it. Do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. Once you are across the border, there will be an American car waiting. The driver's name is Cole. Cole will take you to Incirlik. From Incirlik, you will fly home. Ma'am, I'm not finished. Sarah reached through the window and grabbed Jake's forearm hard, harder than a woman her size should have been able to. When you get home, Jake, you go to the Pentagon. You do not go to Langley. You do not go to anyone in uniform. You do not personally trust with your mother's life. You go to the Pentagon and you ask for Admiral William Hartley. Only him. You tell him the phrase 11 doves flew west. He will know what it means. He will get you to the right people. 11 doves flew west. Say it again. 11 doves flew west. Good. And Jake? Ma'am, the name you asked about. Jake's chest tightened. Yes. Sarah looked at him for a long second, and then she said the name. And it was not a name Jake expected. It was the name of a man every one of them had trusted. A man who had spoken at their graduation. A man who had shaken Jake's hand and called him son and told him the country was proud of what he was about to do. No, Jake whispered. Yes. Commander, no, it can't. Jake, it is him. I have the files. I have wire transfers. I have photographs. I have been building this case for 3 years. Everything you need is in a dead drop in Alexandria, Virginia. Hartley knows where. You walk into that meeting, you say the phrase, and you do not leave his office until he has opened that drop in front of you. "Oh my God," Marcus said from the back seat. He had heard. "Oh my God, ma'am, are you serious?" "Chief Webb, I have never been more serious about anything in my entire career." "He was at my wedding," Marcus whispered. "He was at my wedding. I know he was. He held my daughter. I know, Chief." "He is going to Dubai," Marcus said, and it was not a threat. It was a fact stated calmly the way a man states the time. "Not yet," Sarah said. "Not until you have the files. Not until this goes through the right channels. We do this correctly or we lose everything I have built." "Yes, ma'am." Jake's hand was shaking on the steering wheel. He forced it still. "Commander, I want to ask you one thing." "Ask it fast, Lieutenant." "Your family, your sister, your nephew. When this is over, Jake, one of two things will have happened. Either I will be dead, in which case you will go to them and you will tell them everything. You will tell them I love them every single day. You will tell them I am sorry. You will tell them it was the only way. And the other thing is that I will come home myself and I will tell them." Jake's jaw trembled. "Ma'am, come with us." "I cannot. Please." "Lieutenant Morrison." Her voice cracked just for a second, just enough for him to hear it. "If I leave tonight, 3 operations I have been steering for 2 years collapse, and a lot of young men die. Men with weights, men with babies, men just like Ruiz back there. I cannot buy my own life with theirs. You know that. You know me. Do not ask me to do it." Jake closed his eyes. "Yes, ma'am." "Now drive." Jake reached to turn the key. The engine coughed, caught, idled low. And that was when the alarm went off. A siren deep and industrial began to scream from somewhere inside the compound. Lights that had been dark snapped on across the motor pool. Voices shouted in Russian. Boots slammed against concrete. "Go," Sarah said. "Go, go, go." "Get in the truck," Jake snapped. "Lieutenant." "Get in the truck, Sarah. That's not a request." She hesitated. And in that hesitation, the door at the far end of the motor pool slammed open, and Viktor Rashidov came through it with 6 men and a rifle in his hand. He saw the truck. He saw Sarah standing at the passenger window, and his face, which had been confused, became something else. Something that understood. Something that had just realized in one sickening instant that the entire last year of his life had been a lie. "Major Petrova," Viktor said slowly, in English, for Jake's benefit. "Or should I say Commander Mitchell?" Sarah went very still. "Oh yes," Viktor said. "I know your name. I have known your name for 6 hours. A very helpful gentleman in Virginia called us on a secure line and told us everything. He told us what you had done. He told us what you were. He told us to put a bullet in you the next time you walked into a room. I was going to do it tonight, after I finished with the Americans." Sarah's hand moved toward her hip. Viktor raised the rifle. "Do not," he said. Jake's foot was on the brake. His hand was on the shifter. The truck was in gear. The engine was running. "Jake," Sarah said softly without looking at him, "do you remember what I told you in week 3 at BUD/S? Jake's throat closed. "Ma'am." "Do you remember, Titan? You said the team is always more important than the operator." "That's right." "Commander, drive Jake." "No, drive." And then Sarah Mitchell did something Jake Morrison would remember for the rest of his life. She turned fully away from the truck. She stepped in front of the headlights, putting her body between Viktor's rifle and Jake's windshield. And she drew the pistol from her hip, and she fired 3 times fast and clean, and the 2 men flanking Viktor dropped, and Viktor dove sideways, and Sarah kept firing as she screamed one word over her shoulder. "Go!" Jake slammed the gas. The truck lurched forward, tires shrieking, and they punched through the motor pool door in a spray of splinters, and behind them Jake heard the chatter of automatic fire, and he heard Sarah's pistol answer, and he heard her yell something in Russian he did not understand, and then there was another burst, and then there was silence that lasted 1 second, and then there was the sound of her pistol again, still firing, still fighting. "Jake, go, go, go," Marcus was shouting. Jake was already going. He took the compound gate at 40 miles an hour. Guards scrambled, lifting rifles. Jake put his head down and floored it. Bullets cracked against the side panels. The rear windows shattered. Someone screamed in the back seat. Jake drove. "Is everyone alive back there?" he yelled. "We're alive," Marcus yelled back. "Delgado's hit in the arm. Ruiz is conscious. Clark is okay." "Commander," Jake said. There was a silence. "Jake," Marcus said very quietly. "She's still in there." "I know. She's not coming out." "I know, Chief." Jake's eyes were burning. He couldn't tell if it was from the wind coming in the shattered window or something else. He didn't look. He drove. The compound dropped behind them. The road stretched ahead. The truck bounced over a rise, and for a moment, just for a moment in the rearview mirror, Jake saw a single flash of light inside the compound. A muzzle flash. Then another. Then another. Someone in that building was still fighting. Then the road curved and the compound vanished behind the trees and the flashes were gone. Jake drove for a long time without speaking. Nobody else spoke either. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. His voice was thick. "Jake." "Yeah, Chief." "Tell me we did not just leave her." Jake did not answer. "Jake." "She told us to go, Chief." "I know what she told us." "Then you know we had to go." "Jake." Marcus's voice cracked. "She is one of the best operators this country has ever produced. She is not supposed to die in a motor pool in a country nobody can pronounce shooting at a piece of trash like Viktor Rashidov. She is supposed to come home. She is supposed to see her nephew." Jake's hands tightened on the wheel so hard his knuckles went white. "Then we make sure," he said, "that when we get home, we go straight to Admiral Hartley. And we say the phrase, and we bring down the man who killed her. We make sure that every single thing she died for gets finished. That is what we do, Marcus. That is the mission now." Marcus put his forehead against the window. "Yes, sir," he whispered. "And Chief, yeah. She isn't dead until we see a body." Marcus lifted his head. Jake met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "I am not burying that woman twice in my lifetime," Jake said. "Not until I see her body. You understand me?" "Yes, sir." "Good." The truck pressed on into the dark. Behind them in a compound, they could no longer see a woman who had already been officially dead for 7 years, was doing the thing she had always done best, which was fighting men who thought they had already won. Ahead of them, 83 kilometers away, was a border crossing and a man named Yusuf and a phrase about 11 doves flying west in a name that Jake Morrison could still not believe he had heard. In the back seat, Danny Ruiz began to pray out loud. Not the Lord's Prayer this time. Something else. Something in Spanish the way his grandmother had taught him. A prayer for the soul of a woman he had never met who had unlocked his cell, who had told him his boy was named Antonio, who had not flinched when she saw what they had done to his face. Jake drove. He did not wipe his eyes. He did not slow down. The truck's headlights cut 2 long yellow lines through a country that was trying very hard to kill them. And for the first time in 3 days, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, United States Navy, was absolutely certain of one single thing. He was going home. And he was bringing a name with him. Tommy's voice came from the back seat, thin and wet with pain. "Jake, Jake, I need you to pull over." "Negative, Delgado. We keep moving." "Jake, I'm bleeding out." Jake's eyes snapped to the rearview mirror. In the dim green glow of the dashboard, he saw Marcus pressing both hands against Tommy's upper arm, and he saw the dark stains spreading down Tommy's sleeve onto his lap, onto the seat, onto the floorboard. "How bad, Chief?" "Bad," Marcus said flatly. "It's the bicep. Could be the artery. I can't tell in the dark." Clark, medical kit, under the tarp in the bed, reached back. Ethan twisted around, shoved his arm through the broken rear window, and fumbled under the canvas until he came back with a green pouch. He tore it open. Gauze, a tourniquet, a pressure bandage, a tube of clotting gel. "Give it to the Chief," Jake said. "Chief, get the tourniquet on high and tight, 2 inches above the wound, not on the joint." "I know how to run a tourniquet, Lieutenant." "Then run it." Marcus ran it. Tommy made a sound like a man trying very hard not to make any sound at all, and then his head fell sideways against the window, and for a sickening moment, Jake thought they had already lost him. "Delgado!" Jake barked. "Stay awake." "Here, sir. Stay awake. You do not get to check out on me in this truck. You hear me? Your wife is waiting for you. Your girls are waiting for you. You do not check out." "I hear you, sir." "Say their names. Maria, Isabella, Camila." Again, louder. "Maria, Isabella, Camila." Again. Tommy kept saying them over and over like a rosary. Marcus cinched the tourniquet down. The bleeding slowed. Jake looked at the odometer. 61 kilometers to the border. In the passenger seat beside him, the folded paper Sarah had mentioned sat under the glove box latch. Jake reached across and popped it to the glove box. Paper fell out. He grabbed it. He flipped on the interior light for 2 seconds, read the hand-drawn map, burned it into his memory, and switched the light off again. Turn coming, he said. Left. 3 kilometers. How are you this calm? Ethan asked. His voice was brittle. I'm not calm, Clark. I am driving. There's a difference. Danny, who had been silent since his prayer ended, suddenly spoke. She's alive. Nobody answered. She's alive, Danny said again. I can feel it. She's alive. Danny, Marcus said gently. Brother, we don't know that. She is. Danny's burned forehead glowed pale in the dashboard light, and his eyes were too bright, and Jake could not tell if the kid was seeing visions or just refusing to accept another dead friend tonight. She's alive. She wouldn't leave us without knowing. She wouldn't. Jake didn't argue. He didn't have it in him. 3 kilometers on the turn came. Jake took it hard, the old truck groaning on its suspension, and then he was on a narrower road, barely more than a farm track, and the compound lights were long gone in the mirrors, and the sky ahead was nothing but black. Jake. Yeah, Marcus. The name she gave you. Yeah. Say it again, out loud. I need to hear it out loud. I need to know I didn't imagine it. Jake's jaw worked. Say it, Jake. Jake said it. The name sat there in the truck like a dead body. Vice Admiral Robert Keene, Marcus repeated slowly. Vice Admiral Robert Keene sold us, according to the commander. She said she had proof. She said she had proof. Jake, he pinned my silver star on me. I know. He flew to Coronado for my wedding. He wrote a toast. I know, Chief. My wife made him a plate of her lasagna and he cried because it tasted like his mother's. Marcus, I know. I cannot do this. Marcus's voice had gone strange. Jake, I cannot do this. I cannot sit in a meeting and look at that man's face and know that he is the reason Danny's face looks like that. I cannot do it. I will put my hands through his head. I will put my hands through his head and I will... Chief. Jake, Chief Webb. Marcus stopped. Listen to me. Jake's voice was quiet now, which in Jake was always more dangerous than loud. The commander didn't stay behind in that compound so that you could get yourself charged with the murder of a 3-star. She stayed behind so we could take him down the right way. Clean, documented, public. So that every operator in this country knows what he did and so that nobody ever can do it to another team. You hear me? Yes. We do it her way. Yes, sir. Say it. We do it her way. Jake let out a breath. The speedometer read 90 kilometers an hour on a road built for 40. He did not slow down. 47 kilometers to the border. Danny leaned forward between the seats. Lieutenant, can I ask you something? Yes, Danny. Who is Admiral Hartley? He was my command officer when I was an ensign. Good man, the best. Do you trust him? Jake considered that. Commander Mitchell trusted him, he said finally. And I trust her more than anyone alive, so yes, I trust him. Okay, Danny said quietly. Okay. 40 kilometers. Headlights appeared behind them. Jake saw them first in the side mirror. 2 pairs of lights, moving fast, closing. We've got company. Every man in the truck sat up. How many? Marcus asked. 2 vehicles, can't tell make from here. Moving at speed, could be civilians. At 3 in the morning on a farm road, heading toward the same border we are, not likely. Agreed. Jake thought for 3 seconds. Chief, in the bed of the truck, under the tarp. 3 rifles, you said commander. Nobody answered because Sarah was not there to answer. Clark, Jake said, reach back, pass out weapons. Delgado, you stay down. You are not shooting anything with one arm. Sir, I can, Negative, you stay down. Ruiz, you okay to shoot? Danny's breath hitched. I think so, sir. No thinking. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Good man. Clark, rifle to Ruiz, rifle to Marcus, rifle to yourself. 10-round check on all 3. Safety stays on until I say. Ethan moved. The sound of 3 magazines being checked in the dark was the most reassuring sound Jake had heard since he had been captured. The headlights were closer now. 300 meters. 250. Jake, Marcus said. If we can see them, they can see us. I know. They're going to call ahead. If they haven't already. What's the plan? Jake's eyes were on the road. His eyes were on the mirrors. His eyes were on a turn that he remembered from Sarah's map, a sharp dogleg to the right with a culvert on the far side, maybe 4 kilometers up. The plan, Jake said, is that we give them a sharp turn and a narrow bridge in a very unfortunate surprise. Copy. Ruiz, you awake? Awake, sir. When I tell you to shoot, you shoot. Not before. You aim at tires, not windshields, not drivers. Tires. You understand why? Because if they spin out, they block the road behind them. That's right, kid. Good. 200 meters behind, 180. Jake pressed the gas a little harder. The engine complained. He ignored it. The turn came up faster than he expected. Jake hauled the wheel. The truck slid tires screaming, and for one horrible second, Jake thought he had overcooked it, that they were going to tip, that this was how it ended upside down in a ditch, in a country he didn't know the name of, in a language he didn't speak. Then the truck bit, and the back end snapped around, and they were through. The pursuing vehicles took the turn a half second behind. Jake saw the culvert, a narrow concrete bridge maybe 12 feet across, built for a single tractor at a time. He slammed over it. The truck rattled. He hit the brake hard on the far side, pulled the wheel left, and brought the truck to a stop at an angle across the road, half in the dirt, headlights pointing back the way they had come. Out, he barked. Out, out, use the truck as cover. Marcus left. Ruiz right. Clark, you take the hood. They piled out. Tommy stayed in the back seat with a pistol clutched in his good hand, breathing through his teeth. The first pursuit vehicle came around the bend at speed. Wait for it, Jake murmured. Wait. The driver saw the truck. He slammed the brakes. The wheels locked up. The vehicle fishtailed straight onto the culvert, scouted, and the back end came around so hard that it hit the concrete rail and the whole thing flipped. It rolled twice and landed upside down in the culvert. The second vehicle, coming too close behind, did not have time. It slammed into the wreck and stopped dead in the middle of the bridge. Now, Jake said. 3 rifles barked. Tires popped on the second vehicle, one after another. A man scrambled out of the passenger side, weapon up. Marcus put 2 rounds into the dirt at his feet, and the man dove back in. Back in the truck, Jake shouted. Back in the truck, now. They piled back in. Jake threw it into gear. The truck slewed around and he gunned it down the road, and in the mirror he watched 2 crippled pursuit vehicles sitting in a choke point that was going to take a crew with tow trucks half the night to clear. That, Marcus said, was a nice turn. The commander built the map, Jake said. All I did was drive. Still 28 kilometers to the border. Danny was crying quietly. Not from fear. Jake had heard this kind of crying before. It was the crying that came after the kind that came when a man's body realized it was not going to die right this second and decided it needed to let something out. Danny, Ethan said softly. Hey, you did good. You did real good back there. I shot at them. Yeah, buddy, you shot at them. That is what a SEAL does. I never shot at anybody before, not like that, not knowing I was hitting them. You hit a tire, that's all. You didn't kill anyone. I wanted to, though. Danny's voice was very small. I wanted to kill them for what they did to us. I wanted to. Jake spoke without taking his eyes off the road. That feeling, Ruiz, is going to come and go for the rest of your life. You do not let it drive. You hear me. You feel it. You honor it. And then you make sure you are the one driving, not the feeling. Danny nodded, wiped his face, sat back 19 kilometers. A cell phone buzzed in the center console. Every head in the truck snapped toward it. Jake stared at the console for a full second. Then he reached over, flipped it open, and looked at the screen. The screen was in Russian, but the number was not a Russian number. It was a long string of digits Jake recognized as a satellite handle. He put it to his ear. Yes. Lieutenant Morrison, a man's voice. American. Calm, middle-aged. This is Cole. The commander gave you my name. I need a verification phrase. Jake's throat went dry. 11 doves flew west. Thank you. Status of the team. 5 operators alive. 1 arterial wound on the left arm under tourniquet, roughly 15 minutes old. 1 second-degree burn forehead. 1 second-degree burn face. 2 broken ribs. 1 mild concussion, all ambulatory except the arterial. Copy. ETA to Yusuf's checkpoint. 16 minutes at current speed. Adjust to 20. There is a patrol coming up the main road from the south that will pass the checkpoint at the 15-minute mark. You want to be behind it, not in front of it. Copy. Slowing to 20. When you reach the checkpoint, you will flash your headlights, twice stop for 4 seconds, then flash once more. Yusuf will wave you through. Do not speak. Do not roll down your window. Do not acknowledge him beyond a nod. Copy. On the far side of the checkpoint, you will drive exactly 2 kilometers. There is a service station. Behind it, a black SUV. That is me. You will transfer to my vehicle. We will burn the truck. Copy. Lieutenant? Yes. The commander. Jake's hand tightened on the phone. Is she alive? A silence. I don't know, son, Cole said. I lost contact with her 22 minutes ago. The compound she was in went dark at 0314 local. I have 2 assets heading there now. If she is still alive, we will know by dawn. If she is not, we will know by noon. Copy. One more thing. Go. Admiral Hartley is aware. He has wheels down at Incirlik in 9 hours. He will meet you personally. Do not discuss the name she gave you with anyone, including me, until you are face to face with him. You understand? I understand? Good man. Keep driving. See you in 40. The line went dead. Jake closed the phone, set it back on the console. Nobody in the truck spoke for a full minute. Jake, Marcus said finally. Yeah. You all right? I'm driving. Jake. I said I'm driving, Chief. Marcus let it go. 13 kilometers. Tommy's head lolled. His breathing was shallower. Delgado, Jake snapped. Names. Maria Isabella, Camilla. Louder. Maria Isabella, Camilla. Good. Keep going. 9 kilometers. The road began to climb. They crested a low rise, and Jake could see far ahead in the pre-dawn darkness a cluster of orange lights. The checkpoint. That it? Ethan asked. That's it. What if it's not Yusuf on duty? Then we find out fast. Jake. We find out fast, Clark. No other option. They came over the final rise. Jake eased off the gas. He let the truck coast down the slope, letting speed bleed away. A big tractor trailer was rumbling past the checkpoint from the south, exactly as Cole had said. Jake counted to 10. He pulled up behind the truck. He flashed his headlights twice. He stopped. 4 seconds. He flashed once more. A figure stepped out of the small guard booth. A thin man, maybe 50, wearing a rumpled uniform, in a face that had been awake for many hours. He looked at the truck. He looked at Jake. He did not smile. He did not nod. He raised his hand and waved them through. Jake exhaled. He eased past the booth. The thin man's eyes locked with Jake's for 1/2 second as the truck rolled by. And in that 1/2 second, Jake saw something in the man's face that he had not expected. He saw grief. Yusuf knew something. Jake wanted to stop, wanted to roll down the window, wanted to ask, don't speak. Cole had said, don't acknowledge him beyond a nod. Jake nodded. He drove. The checkpoint vanished behind them. Jake, Marcus said low, did you see his face? I saw it. He knew. I know he knew. Jake, 2 kilometers, Chief. We focus on 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers later, exactly where Cole had said a service station sat closed and dark beside the road. Jake pulled around behind it. A black SUV was already running headlights off exhaust, pluming in the cold air. The driver's window came down. An older man, gray hair cropped close, a face like a piece of worn leather. Cole, Jake said. That's me. Move your men, quickly. They moved. Marcus and Ethan got Tommy out of the back seat and into the SUV's second row. Danny climbed in after them. Jake took one last look at the truck that had carried them out. Thank you, he said to it quietly because there was nothing else to say. He got in the SUV. Cole pulled out. Behind them, a second figure Jake had not noticed in the dark stepped out from behind the service station with a can of gasoline and began pouring it over the truck. A flame kicked up behind them as they turned onto the highway, and then the truck was a fireball in the rear view. And then it was nothing, just another piece of their life that had been and was not anymore. How long to Incirlik? Jake asked. 5 hours by road, then a hop. You will be on American soil by lunch. Jake nodded. He closed his eyes for the first time in 4 days. He did not sleep. He thought about Sarah. He thought about a 9-year-old boy in the United States who had a poster of a spaceship on his bedroom wall and who had been told his aunt died before he was born and who did not know that she had been alive this entire time fighting ghosts in a country he couldn't find on a map. He thought about Viktor Rashidov, and he did not know if Viktor was dead, and he did not know if he cared. He thought about Vice Admiral Robert Keene playing golf on a Saturday somewhere in Northern Virginia, and he thought about how a man that high up with that many medals could wake up one morning and decide that the lives of 5 SEALs and 1 woman in a Russian uniform were worth less than whatever he was getting in exchange. Jake tried to imagine the number. He tried to imagine what amount of money made a man sell his own. He couldn't. Beside him, Cole drove in silence. The older man did not ask questions. He did not offer small talk. Every so often, he glanced at Jake out of the corner of his eye, the way a man glances at another man he suspects is holding himself together with nothing but habit and training. An hour passed. Jake's phone buzzed in Cole's center console. Cole glanced at it, and his face changed very slightly, enough that Jake noticed. "What?" Jake said. Cole hesitated. "Cole, what?" "There's been a development from the compound." Jake sat up. "Say it." "At 0402 local, a message came out on the channel your commander was using. 6 words. Encoded. We just broke it." "What did it say?" Cole looked at him, and for the first time the older man's face cracked into the smallest, tightest version of a smile. It said Sparrow clear. Require extraction. Dawn. Jake stared at him. Sparrow. Her call sign. "She's alive." "She's alive, Lieutenant. She made it out of the motor pool. We do not yet know how. We do not yet know what shape she is in. But she sent that message herself from a burst transmitter I gave her 2 years ago that only works if she is personally holding it. She is alive, and she is moving, and she wants a helicopter at dawn." Jake did not speak. His hands shook. In the back seat, Marcus had heard. Ethan had heard. Danny had heard. Danny started to cry again. Different crying this time. "I told you," Danny whispered. I told you. Marcus's voice was thick. "Jake." "Yeah, Chief? We are going home with her." "Yeah, Chief. We are going home with her." "Cole," Marcus said, "turn the truck around. We go get her." "Negative, Chief," Cole said calmly. "That is not your job right now. Your job is to get to Incirlik and get the name in your head to Admiral Hartley. Other teams are inbound to Sparrow. Good teams. She trained half of them. She is in the best hands I can put her in." "Cole, Chief Webb, she gave up her position to get you out. You do not spit on that by turning around. You take what she gave you and you use it. That is how you honor her." Marcus closed his mouth. Jake reached across and put his hand on Cole's shoulder for 1 second. Then he took it away. "Thank you," he said. "Don't thank me yet, Lieutenant. You have a very hard few weeks ahead of you. A 3-star does not go down easy. He will have people. He will have lawyers. He will have friends in the press. Before you are done, you are going to be called a liar, a traitor, a man with a grudge, a man who cracked up under captivity. You are going to have your marriage examined, your finances, your medical records. Every mistake you have ever made is going to be on the front page of a newspaper. You understand that. I understand. And you are going to stand up in front of all of it, and you are going to tell the truth. Can you do that?" Jake did not hesitate. "Yes." "Good man." The SUV rolled on into the lightning dark. The sky ahead was beginning to turn the faintest gray. Somewhere behind them, in a country that had tried very hard to erase her, a woman named Sarah Mitchell was moving toward an extraction point in the first light of day, alone, wounded, probably bleeding, almost certainly hunted. And somewhere ahead of them, across an ocean and half a continent, a man with 3 stars on his collar was sleeping soundly in a warm bed, with no idea at all that 5 men he had tried to bury were coming home with his name on their lips. Jake watched the horizon go from black to charcoal to slate. He thought about what Sarah had said to him in a cell an hour before all of this. "I am not coming with you." She had been wrong about that. He smiled just a little, for the first time in 4 days. "Ma'am," he whispered to nobody to the road to the coming dawn, "you are going to hate that you owe me a story." Behind him, Marcus heard it, and Marcus laughed, short and broken and real. "She is going to be so mad," Marcus said. Furious, Jake said. Beautiful. Yeah, Chief, beautiful. The SUV accelerated into the dawn. 1337 orchestrated dramatic narrative continuation with escalating tension twists and emotional dialogue. Orchestrated dramatic narrative continuation with escalating tension twists and emotional dialogue. Cole's satellite phone rang again 20 minutes later. He answered it with two words, listened for 10 seconds, and his knuckles went white on the wheel. Say it again. He listened. Copy. He hung up. Cole, Jake said. Say it. The extraction bird out of Diyarbakir just got grounded. What? Mechanical. Hydraulic failure. Real or otherwise. They are scrambling a second airframe out of Incirlik, but it is not going to be there at dawn. It is going to be there at 0930 at the earliest. That's 3 hours late. Yes. She said dawn. Yes. Cole. She said dawn because dawn is when she can move. By 0930, the sun is up, the roads are full, every patrol in the district is on alert because a Russian compound just got shot to pieces. She cannot sit in a field for 3 hours. She will get found. I am aware, Lieutenant. Cole, I said I am aware. There was a silence in the SUV so tight it felt like a held breath. Marcus leaned forward. Who grounded the bird? Cole glanced at him in the mirror. Who grounded the bird, Cole? Maintenance flag went in at 0440 local. From where, Chief Webb? From where, Cole? Cole's jaw tightened. Langley. Marcus sat back. He put his head against the window. Son of a bitch. Jake's eyes were on the road. He knows. Yeah. He knows we got out. He knows she got out. He is killing her before we land. Yes. Cole, what else can we put in the air? Nothing American. Not in time. Not without authorization I do not have. Who does have it? Admiral Hartley, but he's over the Atlantic right now in a military transport. He is not in signal until he clears the Mid-Atlantic corridor in about 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Yes. So for 40 minutes, the only person in the United States who can save her life is a 3-star who is in an airplane. Yes. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them. Cole, you know every operator in this region. You know people who owe you favors. You know people who owe her favors. Think. Who is close enough to get to her? Lieutenant, I have been thinking about that since the call came in. Think harder. Cole did not answer right away, then slowly. There is a Turkish counter-terror team running an exercise 50 kilometers from her last known. Officially, they are not on our side of the border. Unofficially, their commander did 2 rotations with Sarah in Iraq in 2014. Call him. Lieutenant, that call is going to burn a relationship that took 15 years to build. Cole, call him. Cole stared at the road for 3 seconds. Then he picked up the phone and dialed. The conversation was in a language Jake did not understand. It was short, it was hard. Cole's voice went low and tight, and at one point he said a name, a woman's name, and the man on the other end said something back, and Cole closed his eyes. He hung up. He is moving. He is going. He is going, Lieutenant. He is taking 2 vehicles and 4 men, and he is going over the border without orders from anybody. And if he gets caught on the wrong side, he loses his career. And if she is dead when he gets there, he is going to hate me for the rest of his life. But he's going. He's going. Jake let out a breath. What's his name? Captain Erdem Yilmaz. When this is over, Jake said, Bob, I want to buy that man a steak. When this is over, Lieutenant, you will have to stand in a line. The SUV climbed a long rise. The sky was turning pink at the edges. Incirlik was 2 hours out. Sarah was 3 hours from being found by a man who owed her his life. And a vice admiral in Virginia was at this very moment sitting down to breakfast, reading the Washington Post, believing he had gotten away with it. In the back seat, Tommy was fading. Chief, Jake said quietly, how is he? Weak pulse, he's cold. He needs a unit of blood an hour ago. Cole, 40 minutes out from an emergency surgical element at a forward American installation. I already called it in. They are prepping. We lose maybe 15 minutes off our Incirlik ETAA. Do it. Already done. Jake reached back between the seats. He found Tommy's good hand. He squeezed it. Tommy's grip was soft, fluttery, the kind of grip that told you a man was leaving the room even though his body was still in it. Tommy, Delgado, stay with me. Sir, you are not dying today. Sir, I'm so tired. I know you are. Tell Maria. No, no, Delgado, you tell Maria. You say it to her with your own mouth in 48 hours. You hear me? Tommy's eyes drifted closed. Tommy, sir, open your eyes. He opened them. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to count. Can you count for me? Count what? Count backwards from 100, out loud, nice and slow. And every time you get to a number that ends in 0, you say Maria, you say Isabella, you say Camilla, in that order. You understand? Yes, sir. Go! Tommy began to count. His voice was a whisper, but it was there. 100, 99, 98. Jake listened. Marcus listened. Ethan listened. Danny, who had not let go of his seatbelt since the chase, listened. When Tommy got to 90, he said, Maria, and every man in the SUV felt something move in his chest. Keep going, Jake said. Tommy kept going. Cole took an exit off the main road onto a secondary highway. A military gate materialized out of the thin dawn light ahead, and 2 American soldiers in full kit waved them through without asking for ID because somebody had already told them to. An ambulance was waiting inside. Medics swarmed the SUV. They had Tommy out of the back seat and on a stretcher inside of 40 seconds. Sir, one of them said to Jake, we need you in the ambulance too. Your face? My face is fine. Sir, with respect, your face is not fine. I am not leaving this vehicle until I land it in Sirlik and I see Admiral Hartley. My team stays together. The medic opened his mouth to argue. Cole spoke over him. Patch him in the SUV. He is not leaving the SUV. The medic looked at Cole. He looked at Jake's face. He nodded once. 2 minutes later, Jake had an IV in his arm and a field dressing on his cheek, and Cole was back on the road, and Tommy Delgado was heading into a surgical tent where a doctor who had worked in 3 wars was going to spend the next hour putting his arm back together. Ruiz, Jake said. You good? Yes, sir. Your head? It hurts, sir, but I'm good. Clark, here. Chief, here, Jake. Okay, we land in 90 minutes. When we land, there will be people, a lot of people. Some of them will be on our side. Some of them will not. We do not know who is who until I have shaken Admiral Hartley's hand and said the phrase, we talk to no one. We answer no questions. We ask for no favors. Anybody asks you anything, you say, I need to see my commanding officer. That is the only sentence that comes out of your mouth. Clear, 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 clear. Good. The SUV hit the highway again. Cole drove the way. Men who had been doing this for 30 years drove one hand on the wheel, one hand on the phone, checking mirrors every 9 seconds, eyes moving. Cole? Yes. Tell me about him. Who? Hartley. Cole thought about it. William Hartley is 61 years old. He was a SEAL for 22 years before he went up. He has a wife named Margaret. 2 kids, both grown, both civilians. He lives in a townhouse in Old Town Alexandria that he bought in 1994 and has never renovated because Margaret likes the kitchen. He runs 6 miles every morning. He does not drink. He has a golden retriever named Ollie. He is the most honest man I have ever met. Does Keen know that we are meeting him? Keen knows Hartley is going to Incirlik. Keen assumes Hartley is going to debrief a recovered SEAL team, which officially is exactly what he is going to do. Does Keen know about the phrase? Only 3 people in the world knew that phrase before this morning. You, me, and Sarah. And now you, me, Sarah Hartley. 4. Cole. Yes. How do I know that you are not the problem? Cole almost smiled. Lieutenant, if I were the problem, you would be dead in the back of a Russian truck right now and your team would be with you. That is not an answer that stops me from asking. No, it is not. So, Cole glanced at him. So you do not know, Lieutenant. You have to choose. I am telling you man to man that I am not the problem. Their commander trusted me for 11 years. I have not earned that trust by breaking it, but you are going to have to sit in this seat and decide whether you believe me or not. That is the job. That is what she left you. Jake looked at him for a long time. Okay, he said. I believe you. Cole. Yes. If I am wrong about you, I will find you. I would expect nothing less, Lieutenant. They drove. 40 minutes later, the SUV rolled through the gates at Incirlik Air Base. Cole handed off documents at 2 checkpoints, spoke Turkish to one guard and English to another, and then they were on the flight line, and there was a C-17 sitting on the tarmac and a man in a flight suit waving them forward. "That's our bird," Cole said. "Hartley is still 40 minutes out. You are going to be on the ground before he lands." "Where?" "Private hangar on the north side of the base. You wait there. Nobody in, nobody out. 2 Marines on the door. I picked them myself." "Copy." The SUV stopped. Jake got out. His legs almost gave. Marcus caught him. "I've got you, brother." "I'm good." "You're not good, but I've got you." They walked up the ramp of the C-17. Medical personnel met them. Danny and Ethan were steered to one section, Marcus and Jake to another. Jake found himself sitting in a canvas seat, a blanket over his knees, a cup of coffee in his hand that he did not remember being given, and a pair of tired eyes staring at him from the seat across. Marcus. "Jake." "Yeah. I need to tell you something before we land." "Go." "If Hartley is the wrong man..." "Chief, let me finish. If Hartley is the wrong man, I am taking the name and I am walking it to the front door of the Washington Post myself. I do not care what it costs me. I do not care if they charge me with every crime on the books. I am not letting Keene walk." Jake looked at him. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Okay, Chief. If Hartley is the wrong man, I am walking in with you." Marcus let out a long breath. "Thank you." "Don't thank me, Marcus. Drink your coffee." The C-17 lifted. Jake closed his eyes. For 4 hours, he slept the kind of sleep that was not really sleep, the kind where the body shut down, but the mind kept running in a low gear, turning over the same 3 faces. Sarah in the cell doorway. Victor with the iron. Robert Keene at a microphone on a sunlit day in San Diego, pinning a medal on Marcus Webb and calling him the kind of man this country is built on. The plane began to descend. A medical officer knelt in front of Jake. "Sir, we are 20 minutes out. Admiral Hartley has landed and is at the hangar. He is asking for you personally." "Good. He is also asking for you to be the only member of your team in the initial conversation." Jake's eyes sharpened. "Why?" "He did not say sir." Marcus across from him sat up. "Jake." "I heard him. Why does Hartley want you alone?" "I don't know, Chief." "Jake, this is off." "I know. We agreed. Nobody talks to anybody until all of us are in the room." "I remember what we agreed." Then I am going to go into the hangar first, alone, and I am going to look at his face, and I am going to listen to what he says. And if anything feels wrong, I am walking out, and we are going to the Washington Post." Marcus looked at him for a long time. "Be careful. Always." The C-17 touched down. The ramp dropped. An SUV was waiting on the tarmac. Jake walked off the plane. He walked into the SUV. 4 minutes later, he walked into a small hangar on the north side of the base, and the 2 Marines at the door saluted him, and the door closed behind him. A man was standing in the middle of the hangar. Tall, gray hair, a face Jake had not seen in 5 years but had once known as well as his own father's. William Hartley was in civilian clothes, a navy blue polo and khaki pants, the uniform of a man on vacation. He did not look like a vice admiral. He looked like a grandfather at a little league game. He looked at Jake's face and his jaw tightened. "Lieutenant Morrison." "Admiral?" "Come here, son." Jake walked toward him. Every step he took, he watched the man's eyes. He watched his hands. He watched the 2 Marines in the corner, the ones who were not at the door. He watched for the wrong thing to appear. It did not appear. Hartley took Jake's hand. He gripped it. He did not let go. "Jake." 11 doves flew west. Jake exhaled. He had not realized until that moment how hard he had been holding his breath. "Admiral, Sarah Mitchell is alive. She is..." "I know she is, Jake. I just spoke to Cole. The Turks have her. She is hurt, but she is alive. She took 2 rounds, one in the shoulder, one that grazed her thigh. She is conscious. She is on a bird right now to a secure location. She is going to make it." Jake's eyes stung. He did not let them do anything else. "Sir." "Yes, son." "The name." Hartley's face did not change, but something in his eyes did. "Say it, Jake." Vice Admiral Robert Keene. For a long moment, William Hartley did not speak. Then he said quietly, I was afraid you were going to say that name. Jake's stomach turned. Sir. Jake, come over here, sit down. Hartley led him to a small folding table. They sat. Hartley put both hands flat on the table. Jake, I am going to tell you something that I have kept to myself for 4 months. When I tell you, you are going to be furious with me. I want you to be furious. I have earned that. Are you ready? Sir, yes. I have suspected Robert Keene of something like this since January. Jake's hands went flat on the table. Sir, listen to me. I had no proof. I had a pattern of operations that kept going sideways. I had insertions where the enemy was waiting. I had leaks that only a handful of people could have produced. I had a feeling in my gut. I did not have evidence. I could not move against a 3-star on a feeling in my gut. Do you understand me? Sir, how did you? Jake, Sarah Mitchell is alive because of me. Jake stared at him. What? Sarah did not go dark on her own, Jake. She went dark because I asked her to. Jake's mouth opened. He could not speak. In 2019, when her team was compromised in Chechnya, I was the one who pulled her out. I was the one who told her we had a leak at a very senior level. I was the one who put her in contact with Cole. I was the one who let the Navy put her on a KIA list. She has been my asset for 6.5 years, my most valuable asset, the most courageous person I have ever worked with. And when your team went down 4 days ago, I was sitting in my office in the Pentagon, and I had to decide whether to pull her out of a country where I knew she was going to try to save you, or to let her make that call herself. I let her make the call. And for 4 days, I have not slept, not 1 hour, because I knew what she was about to do, and I knew what it was going to cost her, and I sent you a message through Cole the second I could, because I wanted her to come home alive. Jake's throat was so tight he could not swallow. Sir, I know Jake. Sir, I let you think she was dead. Yes, I did. And when this is over, if you want to walk into my office and take the stars off my collar yourself, I will let you do it. Because I made that call, and the call hurt you, and I own it. But I am going to ask you to hear the rest of the sentence first. Jake nodded slowly. The rest of the sentence, Jake, is that I now have, because of what Sarah and Cole handed me in the last 4 hours, a complete file on Robert Keene. Wire transfers, photographs of meetings in Cyprus, recordings of phone calls, testimony from a source inside his office. Everything I have been trying to build for 4 months she finished in the last 72 hours while you were in chains. She finished it from a Russian compound with 1 radio and 1 contact. Do you understand what I am telling you? Yes, sir. She got us what we needed. Now we use it. You, me, your team, and a very small group of people I trust. We move in the next 72 hours. We arrest him at his home in front of his wife. We freeze his accounts. We seal his files, and we put him on a plane to a place where he does not come back from. Are you with me? Jake looked at the old man across from him. He thought about Sarah bleeding in the back of a Turkish vehicle, still alive, because William Hartley had bet his career that she was worth more than a decoration on a wall. He thought about Marcus ready to burn his entire life down at the Washington Post if Hartley was the wrong man. He thought about Danny praying in Spanish in a speeding truck. He thought about Tommy counting backwards from 100. He thought about a little boy in the United States with a poster of a spaceship on his wall. Sir, Jake said, I am with you. Good. But Admiral, yes, Jake, when you arrest him, I want to be the one who puts him in the car. Hartley looked at Jake for a long time. Son, Mom, he said finally, I figured you might. Jake nodded once. And Admiral, yes. Chief Webb is going to want the same thing. I figured that too. And Delgado, when he is out of surgery, is going to want the same thing. Then we will find a very large car, Jake, and we will all ride together. Jake laughed. It came out broken and wet. Hartley stood up. He held out his hand. Welcome home, Lieutenant Morrison. Jake took his hand. He held it. He did not let go right away. Sir, permission to brief my team. In this hangar. Right now, all of them, including what you just told me about Commander Mitchell. Granted. Thank you, sir. Hartley turned to the Marines. Bring them in. The door opened. Marcus came first fast, his eyes locked on Jake's face, reading it. Ethan behind him, Danny pale and small, holding onto the doorframe. A medic pushing Tommy in a wheelchair, Tommy's arm in a bright blue sling, his eyes open, his color returning. Jake looked at his team. Chief? Jake. He is the right man. Marcus closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, they were wet. Copy. And Chief? Yeah. She is alive. Marcus smiled. It cracked his face open like something breaking in two. I know, he said softly. I saw it on yours the second we walked in. Hartley stepped forward. He looked at the 5 men in front of him. He looked at their faces, the burns, the sling, the bandages, the eyes of men who had been to a place no man was meant to go. Gentlemen, he said, my name is Admiral William Hartley. I have been waiting to meet 4 of you for a very long time and to see one of you again. There is a woman on a helicopter right now who is coming home because of what you 5 did tonight. She sent me a message 30 minutes ago. Would you like to hear it? Nobody spoke. Hartley pulled a folded piece of paper out of his pocket. It says, tell the boys I am furious they left me. Tell them they owe me lunch. Tell Jake the brand on his face is going to make him look a lot more interesting at the officers' club. Tell Marcus his wife's lasagna was in fact better than Keen's mother's. Tell Ethan I heard him talking to Ruiz in the corridor, and I am proud of him. Tell Ruiz his son is going to grow up knowing his daddy is a hero. Tell Delgado I counted with him. I heard every number. I am coming home. Jake's hand went to his mouth. Marcus turned his face toward the wall, and his shoulders shook, and he did not care who saw. Danny Ruiz sat down on the floor of the hangar, put his head on his knees, and cried the way a man cries when he has been given his life back. Ethan walked over to Tommy's wheelchair, and Tommy reached up with his good hand, and the two of them gripped each other without a word. And Jake Moore, a Lieutenant United States Navy SEAL, 39 years old, branded on his right cheek, a man who had thought 4 days ago that he was going to die in a Russian basement, stood in the middle of a hangar in Turkey with a folded piece of paper in his friend's hand and understood for the first time in his adult life what it meant to win. Admiral, he said. Yes, Lieutenant. Let's go get him. Hartley smiled. We leave in 6 hours. 13:40. 6 hours later, a transport plane lifted off the runway at Incirlik with 5 Navy SEALs, 1 Vice Admiral, and a set of sealed files that was going to end the career of a 3-star by the end of the week. Tommy Delgado was in a fold-down bunk in the back, stabilized, stubborn, demanding to be included in the briefing every time a medic tried to sedate him. Jake sat next to him with the file open on his knees. Read it to me, sir, Tommy said. Everything. I want to hear all of it. Delgado, you need to sleep. I will sleep when I have heard what that man did. Jake glanced at Hartley, who nodded. So Jake read. He read about a Cyprus account that had been opened in 2021. He read about $2.3 million in payments that had come through shell companies registered in Malta. He read about a meeting in a hotel in Istanbul in the spring of 2023, where Robert Keene had sat across a table from a man named Pavel Orlov, and where Keene had handed over a thumb drive that contained, among other things, the rotation schedule of 3 SEAL platoons. He read about a second meeting in Cyprus in November of 2024, where Keene had given Orlov the name of a female operative he believed was dead because Orlov had become suspicious that she was not. Tommy's eyes had closed halfway through, but every so often his good hand tightened on the edge of the bunk. Keep reading, sir. Tommy, keep reading. Jake kept reading. He read about a phone call intercepted by a source inside Keene's own office in which Keene had told Orlov the flight plan of a Black Hawk that was going to insert a team of 5 SEALs into a valley 40 kilometers north of a certain compound. He read the transcript of that call. He read Keene's exact words. The young one is Ruiz, married, wife pregnant. He will break first. Use him to break the others. Marcus, listening from the seat across the aisle, stood up and walked to the back of the plane. He stayed there for a long time. When he came back, his face was set. Jake. Yeah, Chief. I am going to be in the room when we arrest him. I know you are. I am going to look at his face. I know you are. I am not going to hit him. Jake looked at Marcus. I am not Jake. I made that decision 40 minutes ago in the back of the plane. I am going to stand there, and I am going to let him see me, and I am going to let him know that every single thing he did to a man who was at his kitchen table at Christmas. That is going to be worse than a punch. Yes, Chief, it is. Good. Hartley, who had been listening, spoke quietly. Chief Webb, that is the mark of an officer. I'm going to remember you said that. Marcus did not answer. He sat down and closed his eyes. The plane flew west. Jake slept and woke and slept again. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sarah stepping in front of the headlights with a pistol in her hand. Every time he opened them, he saw the brand on his cheek reflected faintly in the window. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Hartley's phone chimed. He read a message. His face softened for the first time in hours. Jake, sir. She landed at Ramstein. Surgery went well. She is going to walk out of that hospital in 2 weeks. Jake put his hand over his eyes. Sir, thank you. Don't thank me, son. Thank her. She is already asking when she can travel. Tell her, Jake stopped. Tell her what? Tell her to wait for us. Tell her we are coming to get her before we do the next thing. Hartley smiled. I already told her. Her exact response was, and I quote, tell Morrison if he tries to arrest Keene without me in the room, I will put a round through his other cheek. Jake laughed. It was the first real laugh he had laughed in a month. She's back, Marcus said quietly. She's back, Jake said. The plane landed at Andrews at just after 9 in the evening local time. A motorcade was waiting. No press, no photographers, no honor guard. Hartley had arranged it that way on purpose. 5 men walked off a plane at an American airbase, climbed into black SUVs, and disappeared into the night. They did not go to their homes. They went to a safe house in Maryland, a small farmhouse on 40 acres with a locked gate and 2 men in plain clothes at the end of the driveway. And waiting inside that farmhouse on a couch with her leg propped on a pillow and her arm in a sling and her hair loose around her shoulders for the first time in 6.5 years was Sarah Mitchell. Marcus saw her first. He stopped in the doorway. He put his hand on the frame and he did not move. Chief, Sarah said, are you going to stand there all night or are you going to come say hello? Marcus walked across the room and he got down on one knee in front of the couch and he put his forehead against her good hand and Sarah's eyes filled and she did not say anything because she did not need to. Jake came in behind him. Sarah looked up. She saw his face. She saw the brand. Lieutenant, Commander, I am sorry. For what? For the mark. Jake touched his own cheek. He smiled. Ma'am, the way I see it, you gave me a story. Every man in a bar is going to want to know where I got it, and I am going to tell them it was the night a woman who had been dead for 7 years walked back into my life with a key in her hand. That is a pretty good story, Commander. Sarah's eyes brimmed. Jake. Ma'am. Come here. He sat on the couch next to her. She put her good arm around him. He put his head on her shoulder. A 40-year-old man, a Navy SEAL, a lieutenant who had killed men in 3 countries, sat on a couch in Maryland with his head on the shoulder of his mentor and did not move for a very long time. Danny came in. He saw Sarah. He stopped. Petty Officer Ruiz, she said. Ma'am. Come here, son. He came. She touched the burn on his forehead with the gentlest fingers. Danny. Yes, ma'am. Your boy Antonio. Do you have a picture? Danny fumbled in his jacket. He pulled out a small, folded ultrasound photo. He had carried it into captivity. It was creased and stained. He handed it to her. Sarah looked at the photo for a long time. He is going to be beautiful, she said. You tell Elena that an old soldier thinks so. Danny nodded. He could not speak. Ethan came next. He stood at a distance. Sarah looked at him. Clark, come closer. He came. You kept your head. You kept Reese on his feet. You did a good job tonight. Ma'am, I was so scared. Yes, you were, and you did it anyway. That is what a SEAL does. Ethan's jaw trembled. Tommy was wheeled in last in his sling, with his color back, his eyes alert. He did not speak. Sarah looked at him. He looked back. Neither one of them needed to say anything. Finally, Sarah nodded. You counted Delgado. Yes, ma'am. I counted with you. I heard you, ma'am. Good. Hartley cleared his throat softly from the doorway. Commander, team, we have a lot to do, but not tonight. Admiral, Sarah said, with respect, tonight. Sarah, tonight, William, I have waited 6.5 years to eat dinner with these men. We eat dinner, then we go to war in the morning. Hartley almost argued. He looked at her face. He did not argue. Yes, ma'am. They ate. Somebody in the house had made chili. They sat around a kitchen table that had been built for 6, and 6 of them crowded around it, and a 7th man, Hartley, stood leaning against the counter with a bowl in his hand because he did not want to sit down yet. Nobody gave a speech. Nobody cried. Sarah told a story about a goat in a Syrian village in 2016 that had stolen her sandwich. And Marcus told a story about Danny throwing up in a landing net in his second week of training. And Danny laughed so hard he choked, and Tommy laughed until his ribs made him stop. And Jake watched all of it from the head of the table and understood that this single hour at a kitchen table was what Sarah had been buying with 6.5 years of her life. At midnight, Hartley left. Sarah went upstairs to sleep. The men lay down in bunks in a back bedroom. Jake lay on his back and stared at the ceiling. He did not sleep until dawn. At 6 in the morning, Hartley was back. He had coffee, he had a briefcase, he had a thin dark suit laid over one arm. "Lieutenant Morrison." "Sir." "Put this on." Jake looked at the suit. Sir, you are the arresting officer. You are going to look like one." Jake took the suit. By 8 in the morning, Sarah was in the passenger seat of a black SUV, her legs straight out in front of her, her arm in the sling, a windbreaker zipped up to her chin. Jake was driving. Marcus was behind her. Hartley was in a second SUV with a small team of federal agents. Danny and Ethan were in a third. Tommy, under doctor's orders, had been left at the farmhouse with the promise that every minute of the arrest would be on a live feed into his room. The convoy moved into Old Town Alexandria. Vice Admiral Robert Keene's house was a tidy brick colonial on a tree-lined street with a navy blue front door and a brass knocker shaped like an eagle. His gray sedan was in the driveway. His wife's silver hatchback was next to it. The Sunday paper was still on the front steps, folded unread. Jake parked across the street. "Commander?" "Yes, Jake." "You sure you want to do this?" "Lieutenant, if you ask me that again, I am going to put you in the back seat." "Yes, ma'am." Jake got out. He walked around. He opened her door. He offered his hand. She took it, and he helped her up, and she put her weight on him for 3 seconds longer than she needed to. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Always." Marcus joined them. Hartley's team fanned out around the block. 2 agents took the back door. 2 took the side. One stayed at the end of the driveway with his hand near his hip. Jake, Sarah, and Marcus walked up the path to the navy blue door. Jake rang the bell. A dog barked inside. Footsteps. A deadbolt turned. The door opened. Robert Keene stood in the doorway in a gray sweater and khakis, holding a coffee mug, his reading glasses pushed up on his forehead. He was 64 years old. He had 3 stars on his service coat hanging in a closet 12 feet away. He had a wife named Diane, 2 daughters, a granddaughter who called him Pop Pop. He looked at Jake. His eyes went to the brand on Jake's cheek. For 1/2 second, nothing. Then his face did something very small, a flicker, a micro-expression, the face of a man whose stomach had just dropped 60 floors in a single second. "Jake," Keene said, his voice was perfectly steady. "My God, I heard you were captured. I was going to call your wife this morning." Come in, you must be." Then he saw Sarah. He did not speak. His mouth opened and no sound came out. Sarah looked at him. "Hello, Robert." The coffee mug fell. It hit the tile floor and shattered, and brown liquid spread across white grout, and the dog came running from somewhere inside the house and then stopped confused and sat on its haunches. "Sarah." Keene's voice was a whisper. "Me," she said. "You're alive." "Yes, Robert. I have been alive for 7 years. I have been in your meetings. I have been reading your emails. I have been listening to your phone calls. For 6.5 years, I have watched you sell this country to men who hated it. I have counted the operators you killed. 41, Robert. 41 Americans dead because of you. 4 more nearly last week. Because of you, a young man behind me has a burn across his forehead that is never going to heal right. Because of you, I have 2 holes in me that I did not need. Because of you, I missed my nephew's first 9 years." Keene's hand went to the doorframe. "Sarah." "I am not finished." He closed his mouth. "For 6.5 years, I have built a file on you that is going to make sure no one in this country ever forgets your name in the way you wanted to be forgotten. Your wife is going to learn what you did. Your daughters are going to learn. Your granddaughter is going to grow up knowing she shares a name with a traitor." Keene swayed. "Please." "No." Sarah turned her head slightly. "Lieutenant Morrison, woman." "Ma'am." "Read him his rights." Jake stepped forward. From his jacket, he pulled a folded warrant. He held it up. Keene looked at it without seeing it. Vice Admiral Robert Keene, you are under arrest on the charge of treason against the United States of America, espionage, conspiracy to commit murder of U.S. service members, and conspiracy with foreign agents in time of undeclared hostilities. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand these rights as I have read them to you? Keene's eyes did not leave Sarah's face. Robert, she said softly, answer the man. I understand. Marcus stepped forward from behind Sarah. He stopped a foot from Keene. He did not touch him. He did not raise his voice. He did not lift a hand. Admiral, Marcus said, look at me. Keene looked. I was at your house for Thanksgiving 3 years ago. You carved the turkey. You told my daughter a story about your dog, the one before this one. You said his name was Duke. My daughter cried when you told her Duke had died. She still asks about you. Her name is Amelia. She is 7. When I go home tonight, I am going to sit down with her, and I am going to have to find a way to tell her that Pop Keene is not coming to her birthday this year, or any year. I am going to have to find the words. Keene's eyes filled. Marcus is Sarah. That is all I have to say to you. Marcus stepped back. From inside the house, a voice called, Robert, who is it, honey? Keene closed his eyes. Sarah stepped forward. Jake put a hand under her good arm without looking at her, the way a man supports a woman he has known for 15 years. Diane, Sarah called kindly. Diane, this is Sarah Mitchell. I need you to come to the door, please. Silence inside. Then the sound of slippers on tile. Diane Keene appeared. She was 61 years old. She was in a pink robe. She was holding a second cup of coffee. She looked at Sarah, and her face did something that Jake would not forget. Sarah, oh my God. Sarah, they told us you were, I know what they told you, Diane. I am sorry. I need you to sit down. There are federal agents behind me. They are going to come into the house now. They are going to be kind to you, but they are going to take Robert, and they are going to take his computer, and they are going to take a number of papers. I am going to sit with you the whole time. I am so sorry, Diane. Diane Keene looked at her husband. Her husband could not look at her, and in that single second, Diane Keene knew. She did not scream. She did not cry. She put the coffee mug down on a small table by the door slowly, carefully, as if the mug were the only thing that was not broken. She looked at Robert Keene, the man she had been married to for 39 years. Oh, Robert, she whispered. What did you do? Keene did not answer. Hartley's agents came in through the front door. They were gentle. They cuffed Keene's hands in front of him instead of behind, out of some final decaying respect for the stars he had worn. They let him out. At the SUV, Keene stopped. He looked over his shoulder at Sarah. Sarah, please, let me say one thing. She looked at him. Say it. He swallowed. I am sorry. Sarah looked at him for a long time. No, you are not, Robert. You are sorry you got caught. That is not the same thing. She turned her back on him. The agents put him in the SUV. The door closed. The convoy pulled away. Diane Keene stood in her doorway and watched her husband go. Sarah walked back up the path, put her good arm around Diane's shoulders, and walked her inside. Neither woman spoke. Sarah sat with Diane in a kitchen that Robert Keene had eaten breakfast in an hour earlier. She stayed for 2 hours. She answered every question Diane asked. She did not flinch from any of them. When she came out, Jake was waiting by the SUV. She looked tired in a way Jake had never seen her look tired. Ma'am, take me back to the farmhouse, Jake. Yes, ma'am. They drove in silence for 10 minutes. Then Sarah spoke. My sister. Ma'am, she lives in Richmond. I want to go there next. Today. Yes, ma'am. Jake? Yes. Will you come in with me? Jake looked at her. Ma'am, I will go anywhere you tell me to go for the rest of my life. Sarah's eyes brimmed. She looked out the window so he would not see. Thank you, Lieutenant. That afternoon, in a small house on a quiet street in Richmond, Virginia, a 9-year-old boy named Caleb came home from soccer practice and found a woman sitting on his living room couch next to his mother. The woman was wearing a windbreaker. Her arm was in a sling. She had gray in her hair. She looked at him the way Caleb had only ever seen one person look at him in photographs. In the old pictures his mother kept on the mantle of an aunt who had died before he was born. He stopped in the doorway. Mom. His mother stood up. Her face was wet. "Caleb, sweetheart, come here. I need to tell you something." Caleb looked at the woman on the couch. The woman smiled at him, and it was a small, careful smile, the smile of a person who was not sure if she deserved it. "Hi, Caleb," she said softly. "I am your Aunt Sarah." Caleb did not move. "I've been away," Sarah said. "For a long time. I'm so sorry. I am home now, if you want me to be." Caleb's face crumpled. He ran across the room. He threw his arms around her. Jake, standing in the kitchen doorway, turned and walked out onto the back porch. He did not want anyone to see him cry. He stood there for a long time with his hands on the railing, looking at a small blue sky over a small green yard. And he thought about brands and keys and irons and motor pools and a woman who had stepped in front of headlights. And he thought about how the world does not always give you back what it takes, but sometimes it does. 3 months later, Vice Admiral Robert Keene was convicted of treason in a closed military tribunal. He received 3 consecutive life sentences. His stars were stripped. His name was removed from every building, every plaque, every scholarship he had ever put his name on. 41 American families were contacted by a joint team from the Navy and the Department of Defense, and each one was told by a person in their living room the truth about how their son or daughter had died. Sarah Mitchell was in the room for 7 of those conversations. She asked to be in the room for all 41. The Navy did not let her. It broke her heart. She went anyway on her own time to 16 more. Danny Ruiz held his son Antonio in his arms for the first time on a Tuesday in August. He cried for a long time. His wife Elena let him. Tommy Delgado was medically retired from the Navy after 12 years of service. He opened a small gym in San Diego where he trained kids for free. He named it the Sparrow. Ethan Clark went back to Kentucky for 2 weeks, ate his mother's cooking, stopped being afraid to close his eyes at night, and then re-enlisted. Marcus Webb kept a folded ultrasound photo in his wallet that was not of his own child. It was a copy Danny had given him. He looked at it every morning. Admiral William Hartley retired 6 months later with full honors. He moved to a house in Maine with his wife Margaret, his dog Ollie, and a framed photograph on the wall of a woman in a gray uniform who had been the best officer he had ever served with. And Sarah Mitchell, Commander, United States Navy, once declared, killed in action in the winter of 2019, once called Sparrow, once called Major Petrova, once called A Ghost Went Home. She met her nephew. She hugged her sister. She slept in her old bedroom. She stood 6 months after her return at a classified ceremony at the Naval Academy where she was given back every medal she had ever earned and 6 she had not known about. And she stood on a stage and looked out at a room full of young officers who had been told her story for the first time that morning. She did not make a long speech. She said this: "I was underestimated. I used it. You will be too one day. Use it. Now go to work." Jake Morrison stood at the back of that room with a faint white brand still visible on his right cheek. A brand he had refused to let surgeons fix because the story was better with the mark. And he watched his mentor walk off that stage, and he understood that there were some things in this country that could not be bought, could not be burned, could not be silenced, and could not be killed. Not by a hot iron in a Russian basement, not by a 3-star with a Cyprus account, not by 7 years of silence, not by anything. Some soldiers fight in the light, and the country knows their names. Some soldiers fight in the dark, and the country never learns. Sarah Mitchell had done both. And because she had 5 men went home to their families, 41 more were honored by name. A traitor died in a cell. A little boy in Virginia learned what his aunt looked like. And a brand on a lieutenant's face became for the rest of his life the thing he pointed to when his own children one day asked him what courage meant. He told them it meant a woman he had loved like a sister walking into a room full of monsters with nothing but a key and a plan. He told them it meant her. And that is a story worth telling. That is the story of Commander Sarah Mitchell. That is the story they will never bury again.